You are again welcome back to the class. And in this class, we'll be looking at what the Scrum Master does within the sprint duration. Within the sprint duration, we've looked at the four events in the sprint itself. So, this is just a summary of what the Scrum Master does in the duration of the sprint. Okay, without taking much of our time, let's jump right into it. I believe we all, at this point, um, we all know what the sprint is. Clearly, we all have a clear understanding of what iteration is and why we run sprints. Okay, so let's go right into it. So, of course, the Scrum Master, so this casting our mind back to when we started on Module 3, class lesson 1, looking at who the Scrum Master is. So we can see here that the Scrum Master removes impediments in various ways. Anyway, within the duration of the sprint, wherever there is an impediment, a blocker, a challenge that the team could not resolve, it's the responsibility of the Scrum Master to jump on such impediments and find ways to remove them. And the essence of this is to ensure that the developers are able to follow through and focus on development. Is to take away the distraction of removing impediments off their tracks so that they could deliver qualitative value. So the Scrum Master again removes impediments wherever an impediment comes up. At any stage any is identified, the Scrum Master works on that. Let me expand on this impediment with what we make reference to as RAID. I've spoken about RAID in Model 2. RAID. RAID that stands for risk, R for risk, A for assumptions, I for impediments, and D for dependencies. Risk, assumptions, impediments, and dependencies. All these would, in different ways, slow down the delivery of the development team. Those are the developers in delivering value. All this would slow down achieving the sprint goal, which of course would achieve, which would of course would impact on achieving the product goal. So the Scrum Master must be on the lookout and quickly identify risk, assumptions. The solution for assumptions is knowledge. When you bring clarity to workflow, assumptions are taken care of. And that is why Scrum is deliberate in ensuring that there is clarity on what the developers need to do from time to time. And we see the effort Scrum takes from the sprint planning to ensure there is clarity into the backlog requirements, into the daily stand up, all in a bid to make sure that the developers understand what they need to do. So at any point when all this could come up, impediments or dependencies, the Scrum Master needs to support the team members and ensure that those are dealt with. And that's one of the ways the Scrum Master supports the team. In every way possible, when you observe that one of your team members are having some issues, you need to find ways to meet with that person, understand what the issues are, to help resolve those issues. Even when they appear as personal issues, and those personal issues could impact on the team delivery, where you need to discuss with the developer, sympathize, empathize, or when a developer needs to take a time off to refocus. Everything that you could do to support your team members is what you do as the Scrum Master in the course of the sprint. In addition, you ensure that Scrum practices are adhered to. It's important that the team adhere to Scrum practices. In Module 4, we'll be looking at some of the major practices in Scrum. We call them best practices in Scrum. So, as a Scrum Master, you want to ensure that all the good practices, we call something anti-pattern. Anti-pattern is something contradicting to the ways of Scrum. You could have a quick catch up also on the Scrum Guide. In actual sense, the Scrum Guide is a material you should be reading at interval so that you keep that close to your mind to have good understanding what the practices in Scrum are. Those um, those practices are what you want to ensure that your team members adhere to and follow through also. When we get to the practicals, we'll be sharing some of these practices, elaborating on some of these practices. Yes, again, I mentioned earlier that we've dedicated one module to, and that's the fourth module, to Scrum best practices. So we'll be looking at some of those best practices. But on the lighter note, there are some basic practices in Scrum that you want to ensure your team members follow. Some of them I've mentioned in the past, such as where your team members progress their stories on the board, when they update activities on the board, when they add comments to their stories where there is an update that brings transparency, when your team members are joining Scrum events on time, when they are collaborating, when they are cross functioning, when they are self-organizing. Those are some of those basic practices in Scrum. When you ensure that no team member is working in silos, you want everybody to work together towards the sprint goals also. Of course, we know by now that the Scrum Master facilitates all Scrum events. He helps the team to oops, maintain focus, and he monitors progress also. To maintain focus, pardon me, to maintain focus and monitor progress. 1 minute, please. Okay, all right. So you want to ensure that the Scrum team maintains focus and you monitor the process through. Then, of course, you want to facilitate communication and encourage self organization as well. Also, mm, that's bad. Okay, of course, also you want to promote continuous improvement all through the deliveries. The Scrum Master is promoting continuous improvement. You want to ensure that the team maintains focus while you monitor the progress of delivery. Progress towards the sprint goal. Progress towards the sprint goal. And of course, the Scrum Master facilitates all the communications, encourages self organization, while the team is able to grow in agile, grow with agile mindsets, being engaging, being cross functional, being self organizing, following best practices, and delivering value. Then, of course, the Scrum Master wants to promote continuous improvement all through the sprint duration, and, of course, gives feedback as at when due. So, those are the summary of what the Scrum Master does in the course of the sprint duration. All right, thank you. So that will be the end of this class. We'll meet again in the next class where we would look at the other two meetings and see what the Scrum Master does in those two meetings as well. See you in the next class.